Howdy folks, I'm Keith Bowen. This is Hard Rock University. This is Richard, and he has a mine here in Southwest Oregon and had a lot of historical documents. There was a fair tonnage of some really high-grade stuff that was shipped out of there, etc. It's on 140 acres of patented ground. It's got a little bit of water rights. It's got water running out of the mine. It's got all the setups. You're thinking, wow, this should be pretty easy. Only one problem. Where's some good stuff? Because the old timers, if they weren't chased off the ground by some external circumstance, they will generally mine out everything they can find that's good before they shut down the mine. That appears to be the case here. Let me show you the situation. We have a tunnel down here. This is the culvert that you saw in that video I just posted. This adit comes in. It crosses this quartz dike here. They drifted along that quartz dike. There's an intersecting vein that's much smaller. They went up on that and down on that. There's a winze and an ore chute up there. And then a little bit further down the drift, there's a man platform and there's some stoping up here. Further back, there's some big stopes. These are, what, 6-8 feet across, 30, 40 feet along the vein, and about 100 feet high. Now these appear to be connected to the stopes from the bottom of that upper shaft. We went all around this. Here it's the lower shaft. We sampled the contact here. We sampled the slough in the bottom of the stopes here. We sampled a breccia zone here. Came down rappelled down the upper shaft. Took a sample of the little teeny arsenopyrite vein, which I haven't posted yet. Here. Then we got the two on the floor that I showed you. We came down on this lower one. We sampled this quartz vein. We sampled this cross vein. We sampled the slough on the top of this platform. We sampled the rib here where there was iron staining, thinking there might be pyrites. Same here. And then back in the back, we did the same thing. In all of that, about the best assay we came up with was over an ounce to the ton in this little teeny pyrite vein here, this wide. No real continuity. We got about a ½ ounce to the ton here, about a ¼ ounce to the ton here, and everything else was less. I mean, there's gold, but ¼ ounce, ½ ounce a ton, 3 inches wide, that's not going to make any money. So it looks like they basically mined to the extent that they could find good ore, and then they stopped. Another interesting thing is, the dumps are only in the tens of tons, you know, like 50 tons or something, maybe 100 tons if you include the stuff in the bottom. This was a heck of a lot more than 100 tons of rock they removed. It went somewhere. Okay, so we also took a couple surface samples up here. Now we're left with a situation that many people will be in. There could be stuff up here that you can't get to without a lot of work to make it safer. Same here. Not so much here, but the same issue. It's not something you can just walk into. You got to do some work. And you're probably going to wind up in the same situation. They stopped where the ore stopped. With this much in this small an area and high grade, I mean, some of these samples were running tens of ounces, even hundreds of ounces to the ton. Okay? Leaf gold, things like that. There's going to be more around somewhere. Now the problem is you can't just see through the mountain to find it. This is Oregon. They have this stuff called soil. I'm from Arizona. You just look at the rock. There it is. These guys, they bury it under this soil crap. You can't just look at the rock. It's really annoying, isn't it?
It is.
They got these tree things. You can't just like take down a hillside with a dozer because the trees plug you all up. You got to cut them with a chainsaw and haul them off. Man, you guys make it complicated. Anyhow, so at this point here, where do you go? And a lot of people are probably in the same situation. First thing is, we did all this sampling via hand panning. So he needs to send some of those samples off. We got splits for confirmation assay. Make sure our panning technique is accurately reflecting the gold that was in the rock. Pretty confident on it, but never leave anything to chance. We also got a fair amount of arsenopyrite from that one sample, and we need to assay the arsenopyrite itself. It may have a lot of gold in it, which of course we can't see, and that needs to be taken into the equation. Okay. Here's another thing most people don't think of. Sample for low-grade disseminated gold. This is a 300-foot drill hole into the mountain. You can come along here. It's reported that this area out here didn't have much in it. It was all over here. So just start here and start cutting a channel down the rib. And cut samples, like 10-foot channel, one sample, next, and sample that. If that runs even 0.05, well, this mountain runs 0.05, that's really interesting to a small to mid-sized company, because they can make money at that. They can make good money at 0.05 ounces per ton if the whole mountain is that. So, you've got a good opportunity to check this. He's also going to be following a surface contact to see if he can find more of these things. And when he's doing that, as he's sampling that, he's also going to be getting an idea of what is the average rock of this mountain run. What I saw in this tunnel, and you'll see videos later, I'm getting ready to leave here, so I got to get this one first. What we saw in this tunnel was not a vein, was not a heavily mineralized structure. It was just broken bedrock with little veinlets running through it. Well, that's representative of the whole damn mountain. That could be pretty darn good. So, that's one thing that's on the agenda. It's relatively inexpensive. It's accessible. It's safe. Okay? Another thing many people don't know, geophysical surveys. Now, if these were arsenopyrite lenses and stuff in here, stuff that's heavily enriched, it's highly likely that certain geophysical techniques would be able to see them, like a subsurface radar or a geomagnetic survey. Certainly a geomagnetic survey could pick up the contact between the serpentine and the Metagabbro. They're going to have different magnetic signatures. They should be able to just follow that easily. So, for a relatively few $1,000s, you might be able to map out this property in relative detail, hundreds of feet deep, and spot any big anomalies like this, and then you can drill directly into that anomaly, or if it's right next to the surface, just dig into it to find out what's there. Another thing he has the opportunity to do is if somebody else wants to lease the property from him and do all that work, then he still will retain a percentage, and therefore if somebody else finds it, he can go ahead and profit from that too, while somebody else takes the risk, and of course they get more of the profits than he would of this thing. I worked at a mine where the mine owner got 10% of what they call the net smelter return, the total recovered metals, and they were just the owners. They didn't spend any of their money for this stuff. Another thing that you want in one of these leases is he has to have the right for himself or his representative to observe anything that's going on, to make sure it's done legally, to make sure that samples aren't being salted or things like this, to make sure nothing illegal or unscrupulous is going on. But these are the sort of agreements that are very common in the mining industry, and so when you get a property, a large disseminated ore body, you're talking a lot of money to put it into operation. You're talking millions of dollars, which I don't think Richard, you didn't win the lottery last week? No, yeah, okay. So it's kind of out of his league, but it's well within the normal scope of business of many small to mid-sized companies. This is the sort of thing that a mid-sized company or a small company can come in and spend just a few $1,000s on, do a geophysical survey, maybe do a little drilling, some grab sampling, and decide whether they want to proceed or not. So that is another option where you can still potentially profit well from this while really minimizing your risk and your outlays. A lot of people don't understand how that can be done. So I wanted to let everyone else know too, besides just you. But if this tunnel was in low grade, and this is low grade, and an equal amount this way on each side of the tunnel is in low grade, you get about 100 feet by 300 feet by 200 feet, which comes out to a crap load of tons. I mean, I'm thinking well over 1 million tons, okay? We did it, a little while, it was what, gosh, I mean, 200 tons is only 30 feet, a 30-foot cube. Yeah, so I mean, it goes up exponentially. Do the math. I forgot to do it before I did the video here, but you're probably looking at somewhere around 1 million tons. So a big company can come in, they can get the permits, they can do the exploration, they can punch the drill holes out of pocket and decide whether or not they want to proceed on that. And the other thing you want in your lease, he gets all the information they gather. If they come out there and they drill holes here and they go, wow, that's not good enough for us, he's still got that information and he got it for free. And it may, I mean, a big mining company, you know, they're not going to care unless you got at least 1 million ounces in the ground that's recoverable. I don't know, 1,000 ounces sounds interesting to me, maybe 2,000. You know, they might very well come out, take a look at it and say, nah, it's too small for us. We found this little pocket over here, but we don't care. We want the whole mountain to be. They come in and do a geophysical survey for, if they sent their own crew, it probably only cost them like 5,000 out of pocket. And they find a couple pockets, but nothing large. Well, he's got that map. He got it for free. So, I say, these are some of the things you can do. I'm sure Richard would be happy on an initial lease to just, if you'll go out there and explore it for him, he'll just, you know, give you certain rights just for doing that. You know, you don't have to pay a royalty. After a while, there's going to have to be a lease payment, a royalty if there's production. That's just the way these things go. But he'd really like to see this thing happen. We put in a lot of effort. We spent, what, about 2 weeks on this project?
Yeah. Yep.
We got some great videos, and I want to thank you, Richard.
Thank you.
Because, as I say, we were able to do a lot here that will help a lot of people out there, too. And I had a lot of fun.
Me too.
And Richard's been a great host. His family's been great. And we've just had a real comfortable, happy time here. Had a good time, but it's time for me to move on. And we'll see what we can do and get something, a little bit more information for him down the road. So, happy prospecting and keep it safe out there.